championing cultures of leadership. You guys are super fortunate today because it's Monday, and with Monday comes a brand new week full of unlimited possibilities and brand new opportunities. And I've got my good friend Samantha Roberts with us today. Sam is the host of the upcoming podcast Storytelling by the Numbers. She's already got a few dozen episodes already recorded. Those will be out soon. After having spent 12 years mute and nonverbal, suffering from chronic pain and depression, she met a guy named Tony Robbins. And this event was critical in her turning her life around. I'm going to let her share more about that. I don't want to get into it a ton. I met Sam through my friend and mentor, Grant Cardone. And I've been witness to what's going on in her life over the past, probably 9-10 months. I think we've been connected and been friends, probably that long. And I've watched
13.
her 13 months. Yeah, it's actually been October. Yeah, you're right. So it's been 13 months. I've watched just an unbelievable transformation happen in this young woman's life, and super excited for Sam. Thank you for being with us today. Take a minute and kind of fill in the gaps for our audience and tell them a little bit about where you're at and what you've got going on right now.
Yeah, so I definitely, in the last year, I've really committed myself to finding my voice again, right? When I was allowing myself those 12 years of just being of zero contribution to the world and thinking that it was acceptable because I was growing within corporate America. I was giving all of my attention and energy to my career and, completely ignoring my health, my family, my friendships, relationships. And in the last year, I've just went all in on personal development and really unpacking, I think, the different layers of accommodation I had created in my life, right? I was allowing myself to be this non-communicative, energetic transferring kind of person. I was just a dark spot in the room in my social time. And I thought it was acceptable, again, because I was growing that corporate career. I was the youngest director that my company had ever had. I was managing $1 billion. I thought that was enough. I thought, when I left my hometown a decade ago and came to New York City to create my career, I thought, if I build this structure and this career and I change the trajectory of my family's poverty by having a corporate salary, that would be enough. And it was like, the more time I spent away from my family, the more I realized it's not enough. They don't want the money from me. They don't need that prosperity from me. They need me, their sister, their aunt, their family member. They needed me. And so I had to really wake up because there wasn't contribution sitting on my heart. There just wasn't. And so I really needed to break that down and step into a place of real awakening. What do I stand for? What do I allow in my life? What am I accountable to? And I think that's what's been so powerful and important about the personal development journey I've been on. The power of community gave me my life back, right? The accountability of if I wasn't holding to my goal, if I wasn't working out, if I wasn't showing up and being held to account by my community, somebody was checking in on me.
Yeah.
They were saying, where are you? You've been quiet. And it was kind of the first time in my life where I hadn't created an umbrella around me, a bubble around me, where anything that I didn't want in, any reflection I didn't want coming back at me was now penetrable, right? Mm-hmm. Now people could come in and hold me to account because I was saying, okay, I have to be held to account by something, and let it be by people who are also in that personal development space, also in that place of awareness that they matter and that contribution is important, right? You don't just live this life for you, you live it through the impact you make on others. And I had to really work through that. And, slowly meeting all my fellow entrepreneurs who had calling on their hearts, who had contribution in their daily activity. You can't sit in idle awareness for very long when you're in that kind of environment on a day-to-day basis, right? You need that. You need to see yourself stepping into that level of contribution as well. If you see your friends really growing and building their business, changing the way that they're stepping into their true power, you can't sit idle.
Yeah. Well, I spoke for Ben Oberg a couple of weeks ago in Salt Lake City at his mastermind. And one of the things that's really been on my heart a lot lately has been People ask me all the time, Ken, have you grown so fast in the last 12 months, 13 months? And there's two reasons. Number one's relationship. Relationships always, always, always the number one reason. Number two is the principle that I believe in, incremental, not monumental. But on the relationship side, when I was out with Ben, I talked about we need three types of relationships: the people that are in our community. And that's what you're talking about now, is really that larger, as Seth Godin would call it, our tribe. Like the people that are traveling on the same journey, same DNA, same goals, same aspirations. The second is our circle. That's that smaller group of people. And then the third is our corner. Like, who's those two people, three people that really know what's going on in my life? And this is what I want you to speak to. When you're in a healthy, thriving community, like our Grow Stack Drive community, and I said this in Salt Lake, and it just kind of came to me while I was talking that day, that there's two things that come out of community. Number one's encouragement. Number two is accountability. And on the second thing on accountability, that when you're in a thriving, healthy community, accountability feels like encouragement. Yeah. And I think that's kind of because you and I we've had some fantastic conversations over the past year, and we've had some tough conversations where I remember one time at the dry cleaners, I had to pull over on the side and we spent 40 minutes and I kind of got in your tail just a little bit. I'm like, come on, girl, here's what you got. And here's where we got to go. Talk about that truth of, if you're in a healthy, thriving community, accountability really does feel like encouragement.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that, because one of the really powerful gifts that I've received in the last year is when I still wasn't using my voice to speak my mind and share my point of view. I had friends and community members gift me their assurance, their certainty that I had something to offer the world. And they're like, we're going to continue to hold space for you as you learn to really articulate what it is you want to contribute to the world. And so I had friends and community members who, in their way of holding space for me, gave me the encouragement to try, right? To put my voice out into the world when it wasn't quite ready, but hold space and foster that certainty and assurance that what I had sitting inside me was worth sharing, right? So the awakening that I've really had in the last year, I 100% equate it to the power of community, for them seeing something in me when I wasn't quite ready to see it for myself, for them to be able to see through my layers, my guards, my barriers, and see that there was a pure heart in there. There was a giver within me, and I did have something to share and offer and contribute to the world. And so I definitely think that encouragement comes into you as a way of showing. And I used this in a summit a couple of weeks ago, where I said, your community is that mirror and reflection around you in your orbit, kind of pulling back your self-image, sometimes for the first time, right? By seeing quality members showing you your authentic, true self, you take away the barriers that you have, that you think, or the mask with which you present yourself to the world. And so the greatest gift that I truly received was that seeing, and I'm calling that seeing, that gave me the knowingness, which is another one of my key words, knowingness that I have value and contribution for the world. And so that for me is the power of community.
Let me ask you, because I remember when you did your first podcast. So Mikey C. Rocks is one of our Cardinal licensee. Mikey's got a thriving business, thriving podcast. Similar to what I'm doing. I'm the real estate side. He's in real estate. He's just on the mortgage side. And we're super close together. And number one, he would say the same thing. He would echo my sentiment that we're just honored to be able to play a part with you to help you get where you're at. And right now you haven't even scratched the surface yet. But I remember the first time you did a podcast or a live and talking to you coming up to that moment, you were afraid. You were like, okay, but you took action.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how scary it was, because it's not your personality. It's my personality. It is Mikey's personality. Like, that's our personality, right? We're like, we're the life of the party. We walk in, we want to talk to everybody. And that's not your normal personality. How scary was that?
I think what's interesting is, before my 2 concussions, it was my personality to speak out and to speak into others. But for 12 years, I suffered with post-concussion syndrome. I didn't think the way I viewed myself, and other people didn't see it the same way. They didn't see the limitations that I saw in myself. When I was a kid, I was incredibly articulate, and my point of view fell out of me like rapid fire. There was so much certainty in who I was as a human being. But for those 12 years that I was in darkness, I didn't have a point of view that I could express. And so that was the biggest fear that I had before going live was, will I be able to articulate myself? Because I did spend 12 years struggling with short-term memory, with articulating myself, with putting my point of view out into the world, and being nonverbal for such a long period of time. Yes, I was an incredible observer, but I wasn't articulating myself. So my biggest fear was actually, will I be able to form a logical sentence that people can follow, right? And will my voice hold out? When you're nonverbal for such an extended period of time, your vocal strength is so depleted that you actually will start coughing. Your throat gets so dry in the middle of conversation that there is no fixing it, right? You simply have to stop speaking. And so that was my biggest concern. Will I be able to articulate myself, and will I be able to actually show up in an authentic way that's me, that I won't embarrass and diminish myself, right? Because I was still coming through that certainty that I could, right? That certainty that I could. And, you know, one of the greatest things that I'm sharing with everybody now, because I think it was monumental in shifting my capacity, is I've been listening to my audiobooks on 3.5 times speed. And what that did was refire the synapses of my brain. So over the last year, I have completely altered the way that my memory, my synapses in my brain work. I have better muscular control now because of it, because that's one of the debilitating factors I had. My short-term memory is almost back to what it was. And my ability to articulate and flow a sentence, as you hear today, right? It's back. And so that audiobook at 3.5 times speed, rapid fire, hearing a continuous phrase over and over and being able to feel your body know with a subconscious level what comes next was incredible. It was monumental in recreating the foundation of who I am and what I serve through. So it was scary, but it was because there was that diminishing feature sitting on my heart. And I was like, I'm not me, right? I wasn't my full self in 6 months ago. Because Mike's and my podcast was April 1st. And I will forever have that date in my memory and in my heart as part of my journey, because April 1st is the day that someone took a shot on me and gave me that first win, that it wasn't a complete failure. And it actually did showcase, you know, that I have something buried in me that needs to come out.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with that too. Talk about the importance of taking action. Like you weren't sure if like even your motor skills were going to be able to function at the capacity and the level they needed to for you to be able to carry on a conversation. And when I talk about how scary was it, like that, we understand that was the scary part for you. Talk about the importance of just taking action and not trying to, okay, let me get better. It's almost like saying, hey, we'll have kids when we can afford to have kids. You can never afford to have kids. You just got to have kids. It's just, that's part of it. But talk about the importance of taking action.
Yeah. So for me, I'm kind of, I live by this ideal or mantra that just fail fast, fail forward, fail often. Because that imperfect action, once you relinquish the control that defeating methodology, that being perfect is needed, it changes the scope of everything you're willing to try. Because that level of perfection, when you realize and you really take to your heart that that's an external influence that has no bearing on your success, it changes your ability to just let go and to try. So for me, you know, and the greatest thing that I want to lead my community through is once you're sitting in a place of calling and it's bigger than yourself, and you're not on this planet for you, and you've been gifted every challenge in your life for the benefit of others, right? You've been gifted the resiliency, you've been gifted the strength, you've been gifted, you know, all of the ability to articulate or understand what it is that is at your core for the benefit of serving others. It removes you from the fear, right? The fear is now, it doesn't serve the greater purpose. It doesn't serve the calling, and it doesn't serve your community. So I think for me, this small, and as you kind of live through those incremental moments, just make it so that, you're not taking a huge feat all at once. You're breaking it down. You're saying, okay, let's just stumble forward, because especially with today's climate, economy, global accessibility, everybody's doing something new. There's no such thing as perfection. Whereas before you could pretend that there was, because there were so few options, right? But now absolutely every single business, the largest, most stable businesses in the entire planet, are being reformulated right now. Every single person is doing something that is completely out of their comfort zone and out of the norm. So because there's globally no such thing as perfection, and we actually believe it, versus sometimes you can still shift your mindset and say that it is real.
Right.
I think for me, now's the greatest time to just fail forward, fail often, and fail fast, because right now, everybody is misstepping. Everybody is challenged. Everybody is having to do something that maybe isn't their best version or best self. So for me, I think everybody should just find something every single day to fail at.
I was going to say, when you talk about failing fast forward and failing often, I remember having a conversation with you 12 months ago where the thought of failing for you was overwhelming.
Yeah, that was that mask I was wearing.
What would you say to people who are listening to our podcast and listen to our conversation today, who are in the same place you were 12 or 13 months ago, who, when they hear you talk about failing and they're like, man, I just wish I could do that. But God, there's just so much fear that rises up in them. What would you say to them, Sam?
Yeah. I kind of hinted on, find that calling that's bigger than yourself. You're not here for you. You're not here for you. And as soon as you anchor in that point, it changes your possibility, right? When you're not failing for yourself, but you're failing so that you can impact others, the fear goes away. The limitation goes away. The self-deprecating thoughts disappear, because you're now failing for a purpose. You're failing for a cause. You're failing because you've been gifted the strength, the resolve, the resiliency to fail. That's the gift. And once you understand that everything that you have placed on your path is intended for a greater purpose, the self-limiting beliefs disappear.
Well, I talk a lot about limiting beliefs in one of our online courses. We deal with fear, insecurity, scarcity, shame, comparison, success. Like, those are the 6 big ones that we hit. What would you say to somebody who, on the take action part, on the failing part, like they're wanting to get rolling, they're just not 100% sure? And you talk about purpose, you talk about the why. Share with us, like, in the last 2 weeks, like what's been something in you that you've done that's been fulfilling, that has like replenished you and caused you even want to fail more often and fail more forward and even fail faster than you failed in the past?
Yeah. So in the last few weeks, I have really anchored in launching my community, Proximity is Power. I launched it softly in August, didn't do much with it. In the last 6 weeks, I've started hosting one-day summits. And I decided, in the last year, I've met incredible impact leaders, impact storytellers, entrepreneurs, and from all these different communities, right? I've invested over $100,000 in personal development, coaching programs, mentorship programs, all those kinds of things. And I needed my people to know each other. I needed my members of every one of those communities to start meeting. And so what I have done is I started hosting these one-day summits imperfectly, right? I'm sitting on my desk with 2 computers and a TV screen, and I'm sending it to Facebook Live. I'm sending it to YouTube Live. I'm sending it from a Zoom meeting out to the ethers, right? And, I'm playing chat moderator in every one of those forums. I'm hosting, I'm spotlighting the speakers. I'm doing all the tech, but what was coming out of those one-day summits was the conversations of my friends meeting each other, stepping into each other's awakenings and that transference of energy, right? I realized, and I just came through a Tony Robbins event, 6 days with Date with Destiny. And in that, you really unpack and discover what words define who you are and call you forward. And I realized that one of my greatest gifts is I'm a conduit, right? I help energy transfer to other people. And secondarily, I'm a catalyst. Once people have the knowingness that they have a calling on their heart, that they are a servant leader, that they have somewhere to go and a contribution to make, I'm the catalyst that gets them into action, right? So imperfect action, I've helped multiple friends within our community take their first Facebook Live or their first Instagram Live, right? Just imperfect action. How do we just get ourselves out into the ethers? How do we just get ourselves into the first step forward? So when you ask the question, what's something I've done recently that's filled my cup? Having those energetic transfers among my community, having my friends meet each other and see how their contributions are aligned has been so fulfilling. Because again, my life is still a little bit dismantled. I'm still navigating exactly who I want to be and how I'm going to navigate the world. I'm still struggling with my physicality, right? That's something that isn't yet gone away just because I feel of contribution. So yeah, really hosting courageous conversations has been the most fulfilling thing for me.
What would Samantha Roberts from 13 months ago say to Samantha Roberts today?
Ooh. If we were to meet, I think, oh my gosh, I knew this woman was sitting in there, but I didn't know how I was going to get out of my own way. I didn't know. And the biggest word that led me to today was relinquishing control and leaning into community. Those two things set up a platform and just reminded me of the tenacity that my, 6, 7, 8-year-old self held. I was a leader from the very beginning. I went through some horrific things in my early childhood, and I had forgotten how strong and resilient I am at the core. Again, I had completely negated everything in my life and focused wholly on corporate America. And when you're just diminishing yourself, depleting yourself, and giving to something that doesn't call your heart forward, you forget. You forget that there's value inside you. So I think if we were to meet 13 months ago, Sam, to today, I think it would just be incredibly powerful because it's confirmation. It's confirmation this was sitting in there. And I think the big challenge and awakening for me is that I look back on the fact that I was mute, nonverbal, no contribution for 12 years, and I don't see how it was possible. I don't see how it was possible.
What would you say to people listening to our conversation today about the power of encouragement and the power of community and their role and responsibility with both of those? Because those really are, guys, it's gold. I mean, those are they're valuable treasures. What would you say about their stewardship of those two things?
Yeah, I think any time that you just put energy out into the world that's encouraging of others, you won't necessarily hear in that day or any time near that time that you do it, the impact and the contribution that you're making. Because I have heard over the last 6 months, the last year, that I've been watching you, Sam. Wow, you're so bold. You're out there doing it. And I'm like, really? Because I still feel like I'm failing. And it's so powerful just because you can be that beacon of light to someone and you don't necessarily ever hear back from them that you've been their beacon of light. But take the time to just be bold. If you have 10 seconds of strength in a day, send it out into the ethers. Allow your community to hear and see you in your highest power, because 30 seconds of your life, 90 seconds of your life can transform or pivot or be the linchpin for somebody else that will completely change the trajectory of what it is they're doing. So just be bold.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that because I don't think we understand the power of encouragement. I tell our GSD fam this all the time. The word encouragement literally means to add courage to. It's like I'm taking the courage that I have and I'm letting you borrow some of that courage. Like I'm taking what's overflowing in my life and I'm filling an empty cup or an empty vessel in your life. Why do you not? Why do you think we don't understand the power and the force that encouragement is?
Um, I think there's a lot of diminishing factors in modern society. I think we are taught to mask at
Mm,
such an early age. We're taught to mask based on the community we grow up in, the norms that we live under and live through. I think having unique individual thought is not fostered nearly enough. I definitely know where I'm from. Sameness and unity is more highly fostered than unique individuality.
mm.
And so I think there's a lot of masking and a lot of blending that happens in modern society. And I think we're limited and diminished in a lot of ways. And I think
Yeah.
a new awakening is coming to the earth now where it's like, no, live deep into your unique challenges and journey because they're yours for a reason. Nobody else is gifted the same journey. No one else is gifted the same hardships. And everything that you experience is gifted so that you can serve into others.
I love what you said. You said two words that I say a lot, and I've said them to my children. My 24-year-old gets married in a couple of weeks, all the way down to my 12-year-old, and that servant leadership. And it really is. And you said it again, not in those specific words, but you just said it again. Like you've been given something so that you can pay that forward and help other people. Sam, I am ridiculously proud of you. I couldn't even begin to tell you how proud I am of you and to watch your journey and from where you've come to. I dare say that there's anybody that I've met over the last 13 months that's had such a transformation and has moved so far ahead and so quickly ahead than you have. Super proud to be your friend, super honored to have been a small part along with dozens and dozens of other people to be able to and just to add courage to and watch you grow and watch you take steps and watch you do some of the things that you've done. What's next for Samantha Roberts?
Yeah, I am definitely launching my community with full force in the new year. Um, and and really called now to help as many servant leaders as possible find their impact on this planet. And I'm launching this whole new methodology of impact storytelling and really getting people's messages and heart centers called into alignment. So I'm just really excited to launch that community in an even bigger way and just ensure that we're creating as many opportunities for contribution in this global awakening period that we're in, and make sure that we're fostering in a brand new movement of community and alignment.
I love it, girl. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, Samantha at storytellingbythenumbers.com.
Samantha at storytellingbythenumbers.com. Listen, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast. And as always, I love our conversations. I'm extremely proud of you, watching you grow. And again, I really believe that you're just now scratching the surface. Like you haven't really even started to see some of the things. Like this next year is going to be exponential growth for you. If you think you've grown over the last 12 to 13 months, this next year is going to be absolutely unbelievable. I'm excited about your move and excited about seeing where you land in that move. And
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale will be fantastic. We'll be down there in a couple months for a growth con. So thank you so much for being with us today. Final words for our audience today.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for having me. And I know that you're fostering in that new energy that I just spoke about. And I just encourage everyone, put yourself out there, fail forward, be that guiding light for somebody else, be that confirmation or encouragement that somebody else needs to get out of maybe their own way or step into their new place of contribution and authority. just dare, be bold. Everybody is in reformation right now and transformation. So just be that catalyst of change and that conduit of change in your communities.
I love it. Sam, thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us today on our Grow Stack Drive podcast with my good friend and co-host, I guess today, Samantha Roberts. I'm super excited about it. It is December. Sam, we've got an ugly sweater contest on Wednesday night on our coaching call. We're going to give away $100 to whoever has the ugliest sweater on. Listen, if you're not part of our Grow Stack Drive community, we've opened that up for the month of December at growstackdrive.com/December. We'd love for you to go over there, sign up. You get access to our online private Facebook page, to our online coaching calls on Wednesday night, which are phenomenal. We've got a little bit over 36 people on there now. And then as well as our growth course. We did done 3 courses, but this is our 8-week course on crushing limited beliefs. We'd love to have you connect with us this month for the next 30 days. Sam, thank you, girl. I love you. Super proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Y'all have a great day. Sam, have a good day, girl.
Bye-bye.
Good job, my friend.
Oh, you're still live, bud.